On this week's episode of The Riff, Drew and Martz talk about being free, feeling free, and Murica. We hope today is helpful, and we hope that you don't lose any fingers over the weekend. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, Riff Raff.
Riff Raff.
Knick Knack, Patty Whack, give a dog a bone.
The Riff.
And it's good to have you today.
Hey, I met two riffers in the wild this weekend.
No way.
Two riffers in the wild.
Wait, are you going to name drop or?
Nah, I met Connor.
I mean, okay. No. Hold it. Don't name drop. No. Yeah, okay, you could, but
Yeah, sometimes you do these things. You're like, we don't even know who our listeners are,
I appreciate it when someone comes up and says that.
Yeah. And they're like talked about how it's been beneficial. I'm like, look at that. Look at us riffing and rapping.
Yeah, I'm like, you remember anything? They're like, no, I just
feel like I know you guys better.
Yeah. I did. Okay. This morning I did talk to my wife, Mel.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, one, is this shirt good enough for today? And she said, well, I don't know. What are you doing today? And I said, I'm going to be on the riff.
Yeah.
And she said, it's fine for that. I said, okay, cool. Thank you. And I said, I was like, well, do you listen? And she's like, no.
Never.
She said she has. She's like, usually here's what she says. She says she stores them up and binges them. So, but she hasn't listened in a little bit.
Yeah.
She's probably 6 weeks behind.
I don't think we're binge worthy, man.
I would get tired of me.
I would too. We end at 30 minutes or less every time normally. Yeah, that's about all.
Are we? That's way better than your messages.
Hey-oh. It's a joke. We were just talking about it. I went long on Sunday. Hit 47 minutes. Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's okay. Okay, well, time frame. Okay, when this episode is dropping, we will have celebrated the freedom of this nation.
250 years.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
1776 to 2026.
That is good math.
It is good math. It's the big 250. So
wow, 250. That's any special celebrations for the Williams household for that?
No, not for the 250. I love 4th of July though. It's my favorite holiday.
It's a good one. We used to run when I was growing up. We used to run a fireworks tent. So I would be hanging out at the fireworks tent. We would sometimes sleep there. When I got older, we had our youth night. We'd have like a youth night there. All the guys would come and we would bring our Xboxes and we would connect them, and we would also play football in the parking lot of the Price Cutter.
Heaven.
Those are fond memories.
Yes.
Fond memory. I smelled terrible.
Yeah.
Fond memories. Sometimes we'd walk over to Taco Bell. It was real close.
Yeah. So a fireworks tent while you're working the tent?
Yeah. So our church, growing up, my parents' church, we would run a fireworks tent, and this is how we raised a lot of money for our ministries. So, and if you're thinking this would be a good idea for North Point, we have tried it. Our youth did, and it was not as good.
Times have changed.
Well, I don't think we were as skilled as...
Also, lots of competition in Springfield.
There is.
I do agree.
Yes.
How do all these firework tents stay in business?
That's impressive.
It is.
I am surprised at how many people spend money on fireworks.
Plus, you have the outlet stores.
That's true.
And
you got Costco. I was walking through Costco just the other day. They're selling fireworks in there.
It is crazy how much money people spend on fireworks.
You're literally lighting money on fire. Now, I like it.
It's awesome.
I'm not knocking it. If you know what my favorite thing is?
A neighbor.
Was kidding. That's exactly it.
It's like friends with a boat.
Dude, a free show. Absolutely.
If you have a neighbor who's like, this is my thing, it's what I do, and they're like into it, it is pretty cool.
Yes.
We'll probably go to my parents' neighborhood because there's a lot of those people in their neighborhood. So it's like you can sit on their front porch and watch everyone else's money blow up in the sky. I'll go spend $100.
That's where I'm at. That might be my limit.
But then I'm gonna go to the fireworks tent, or like the place I go to on Republic Road. The amount of people I see in there with like shopping carts.
Wow.
Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like $500,000 and it's like, no offense, but not all of them look like people should be blowing $1,000 on fireworks.
No,
not that I'm being judgmental. I'm judging.
I'm also a little nervous I'm going to lose a finger. Yeah, there is a piece of me that's a little too safe for this.
The end of a finger's at the piece of you that's too safe.
That's of anything. My nails. Yeah, those are important. But today, I do want to talk about something. I think this is all we have. I said freedom, and you said let's go for it.
Let's roll, baby.
I don't have a lot of context to what we're going to talk about. I don't even know, but I do know. I had this thought in my head. So when I said freedom, I can expand on it. Where I'm going with it, you might go a totally different direction though. When it comes to freedom, I think of freedom in Christ, and I think growing up, I've met a lot of people that maybe they grew up very religious. They grew up with a lot of rules that they followed, and they experienced Christ, but they did not experience a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
I also have ran into many people who found Jesus later on in their life, and they lived however they wanted, and they did whatever they wanted, and they had a lot of fun doing it, and they wound up with with a lot of things that maybe they didn't love in their life, but now they found Jesus and they're experiencing him. But growing up, they had a lot of freedom, but not a lot of Christ. And now they're like, just tell me the rules, tell me what I want to do. And I want a lot of Christ without a little bit, with no freedom. I don't need any freedom. I just want Christ. Yeah. So there's kind of this like either or mentality when it comes to it. And I think you've got the kind of faith I feel like includes both. It's like, hey, there are boundaries and guardrails that are so helpful for me in my life.
Yeah.
And there is also a lot of freedom that he gives us. And there's a beautiful balance in that. There's a beautiful harmony in that. And when it's one or the other, you kind of miss out.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think it's, people will try to find like rules and restrictions, to try to like make sure they're doing it right, and there's actually is quite a bit of freedom in your faith. There are boundaries and there are rules, but it's like, it's the same thing that same thing a parent would give you. You give your kids boundaries, you don't want them, you give boundaries, but there's also like, you want people to express freedom as well. So I don't think freedom in Christ, like people are looking for rules and regulations and a lot of things, and you can create as many as you want to, on top of that. I think where things go from, where you go from a Jesus follower to a Pharisee pretty quick is you create a lot of extra rules. I think Jesus has that when he's talking to the Pharisees, he calls them, he's like, you are those who teach as doctrine the commandments of men. So he's basically saying, hey, you're taking people's opinions, solidifying that, calling it rules for everyone else. And while God never said it, now we've got expectations on people on certain things where it's like, okay, well, that's actually not something that God said. But because we want to create a hierarchy, a lot of times it's like, well, who can be the holiest of the holy, So we end up, I think sometimes we create rules where they don't need to be. I think when people turn personal convictions into doctrine for everyone else,
which is lot of, I feel like that was the 90s if you were a Christian.
Yeah.
It was, we don't listen to that music, we listen to this music. Mm-hmm. We don't watch this rated.
Yep.
We do this, which there are healthy principles in some of this.
Yeah.
And also can be taken out of context or can be taken too far.
I think it's like, it's a verse, I think in is it James or Peter? It's one of the two. Someone smarter than me will know it, but it says, to him who knows what to do and does not do it, to him it is sin. So it's like, which is kind of a heavy verse, because it's like, hey, if the Holy Spirit's putting something on your heart as a conviction, he'll give you things that are specific to you. They're like, hey, that, like good, okay for them, not for you. Like, I'm actually asking you to refrain from that. Like, I'm asking you to step away from that thing, to say, okay, the Lord's convicting me about that deal. But now I'm going to put that on everyone else too. So I'm going to take my personal conviction where the Lord's really talked to me about something, where maybe he's called me to a certain standard for a thing. And now I'm going to say everyone else should do the same thing. So I think there's rules and boundaries that are clear scriptural things, like, just take things like the 10 Commandments, like don't murder, don't steal, like the obvious things that are like,
they're pretty standard
deals. But within that, Jesus does call people to even a higher standard. He's like, if you even think about it, if you even say something mean to your neighbor. So I think the Lord will put different even convictions on you. I'm trying to think of some that I have. Let's go, like, there's a lot, I would say, here's a hot topic, alcohol. Christians have very different views on that subject, and there'll be people listening to this who are like very devout Jesus followers that are like hardline alcohol, terrible, shouldn't ever touch it. No Christian should ever consume it. And other people listening to this would be like, yeah, I don't see the problem at all. Like, Bible says, don't get drunk, draw your own lines, and not a big deal, So I think where we get weird is when we start putting personal convictions in other people that may or may not be like clear biblical things, but then we want to make it that way. And the 90s was like that. Secular music was bad.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My parents both got saved, to think how you started. My mom and dad were both like not believers. They lived very like kind of, they've got stories, they were not really raised in what we would call a Christian home at all. Their lives, both of them got kind of out of control, kind of crazy.
A lot of freedom.
So when they found Jesus in like the 70s, they were coming out of the Jesus People movement, which is like free love, like whatever you want, like a lot of drugs, like all that stuff. They were like, oh, wow. So they ran the hard line opposite. And then they ended up in a Bible college and a church that was like very conservative. It was, full of life and those things, but it was like, yeah, why would we go back to that stuff? Christians don't do that, And so for me then growing up in that household, it's like, it was the same thing. It's like, well, we don't really listen to secular music. It was like Christian music and media stuff was very like locked down. And I don't think that was wrong. That was their conviction. Mm-hmm. They weren't wrong for doing that, So I don't know, like kind of tying together. I just think it's like where I see it get weird is people, it's freedom versus rules. And then finding that balance in there. Yeah,
and you usually have such a strong conviction on something, usually because there is a story behind it.
Yeah.
Like what you talked about with your parents. I mean, I've seen so many people, especially when it comes to the topic of alcohol, that are like, I never touched a drop of it because my dad did.
Yeah.
And it's like, from that experience alone, you were like, I never want to do this. I think... it is scary, obviously, when you take a personal conviction, and we would call that legalism, right? Where you bestow that on everybody and no one should drink. At the same time, the beautiful part is when someone does share or hold a conviction, it is great to understand the story that's behind that, because they're usually, I would say usually, there always is.
There always is, man.
There's an experience, if they could trace it back to, this is why I feel this way. This is why I believe this way. This is why I see the world this way. Because we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are, like that a lot of times. So through our own lens, through our own experiences, and oftentimes it is easy to see it as an either or. It's this or it's that. It's this or it's that, and we see that with other people's lives. But I do think just having kids has been one of the most eye-opening experience for me. Of I want my kids to have so much freedom, and It is fun. I don't want them to just be these rule followers, put your head down. Now, sometimes I do want that. Sometimes I'm like, can you just listen? Can you just follow the rule that we set? Can you just stay within the boundaries that we provided? But the beautiful part is like, you get to, like, I don't want them to just be these put your head down rule follower people. I want the personality come out of them. I want their own experiences to show. Like, there is such a beautiful thing in a unique individual perspective. And that's where oftentimes we've said this on this podcast, we're not trying to create these cookie cutter Christians that is, and you got to dress like this, and you got to talk like this, and you got to eat like this, and you got to, share your faith like this. And I think there's healthy principles, healthy guidelines, healthy tips and tricks. But at the same time, it's not this end all be all, got to look this way.
Yeah. I think what that does is it takes the relationship with God out of things, I think it's like if I can reduce my faith down to 18 rules, that if I keep my 18 rules and I know I'm good, then you end up like, you go back and like, if you study like where Pharisees came from in the New Testament, they were actually started as a really good thing. I mean, God had gone silent. There are no more prophets. Mm-hmm. And so out of a conviction to keep people devout to the teachings of Yahweh in the Old Testament, like, all right, well, God's gone silent. So in place of God's voice, there's no more prophets. We're going to create a whole bunch of rules to ensure that we don't mess this up. And if, and wherever the boundaries were, they drew them out a little bit further, just to ensure that nobody would even get close to the boundary. Well, then those boundaries. And so they added more and more layers of rules to make sure no one got close to the real rule that you couldn't break. And so really, like, the hundreds of years go by, and like the Pharisees, like, which started as a really good thing, a devout thing to really like protect the teachings of God and like to keep people in line. Like, in the absence of God's voice, you needed the rules, So, but what happened over time is like, the rules became God. And then when Jesus shows up, like, Jesus is looking at him, is like, you guys are missing your day of visitation. You don't even realize what's standing in front of you, because they actually put the rules in place of the voice of God physically. I mean, Jesus is standing there and they're like, no, we'd actually have the rules and actually listen to someone again. And so I think it's like, rules are controllable. Rules are black and white. Rules are you did it or you didn't, so legalism grows because it feeds your flesh. You know what I mean? When you take kind of that, the Bible talks about spirit and the flesh. When you take your flesh, which makes is the snake eating its own tail inside of you, that you do things to make you feel good about you. The more rules I can keep and follow, and if I can follow them better than you can, I start to feel better about me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm actually building myself slowly up as the object. You know what I mean? Like, I'm starting to make myself God slowly. But when God actually shows up with with relationship on the table, it's like, well, I'd rather have my rules because I can control those. It doesn't require surrender. It doesn't require, you know, I mean, like I can create my own hierarchy.
Yes.
I can win this game at rule following. But what if Jesus asks me to do something, I get no credit for it?
Yeah, I would say it's more complicated but less demanding.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of complication and, it's got to be like this, but it's actually, it demands less of you.
Yeah.
Whereas a relationship
It's a journey.
less complicated, but it demands so much more of you.
Yeah.
I think about it. I don't remember who. It might be like C.S. Lewis or somebody that's got the whole analogy of the person that's sitting on the park bench and they are listening to music and they're drumming along to it. You know, they're just kind of drumming. And there's somebody that walks by and they're like, "Oh, that looks fun." And so they sit down on the bench and they start like trying to mimic the same movements and hitting at the same time. And it's like,
You can't hear the music.
It's cool, but one person is listening to the music and the other person isn't. One person is just mimicking a movement and the other person is in sync with a band that's like, it's a completely different experience.
And here's like, sorry.
Well, that's it.
And when all we have are rules, we don't actually have a good relationship with God personally.
You miss out on the music.
Yeah, man. Come on, bro. But it's like, but that's what happens. I think that's why the church like struggles sometimes is because if all we are is great rule followers, we're trying to invite people other into our rules, but there's no heart behind it of like actual relationship. And it's like, I mean, you know what I mean? You're inviting people into a copy of a copy of a copy of the real thing. And then wondering why you're not like joining. And it's like, no, like we have to point people to Jesus, not to, you know, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Rules exist for a reason. There are still boundaries. But understanding within those boundaries, there's a lot of freedom and like God's really after your heart, you know? He wants all of you, but like there's this heart thing that's like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Matthew 22. It's the, you know, when the Pharisees come up and they ask Jesus all these questions.
Yeah.
And it's, well, who do we pay our money to? Right. And Jesus, you know, give to Caesar what Caesar's, give to God what is God's, right? Shows him the picture on the coin. He's like, who's on the coin? Right. He comes up, they ask all these, like, try to gotcha questions. And then one of the Pharisees comes up, Sadducees, I think, actually, and comes up and says, like, when he's talking to Jesus, he says, "What's the greatest commandment? Like, what's the greatest rule that we need to follow?" Yeah. And Jesus says, "What everyone knew: love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength." Right? It's like that's the greatest commandment. And everyone's like, "Knew it, got it." And then he said, "But I got a second commandment for you." And that would have like blown everybody's mind.
Yeah.
People would have been like, "Hold on, no, one, that's blasphemous. No, that's the command."
Right.
And they were like, "Gotcha, we knew it." And that's when he's like, love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's the thing that a lot of times it's a lot easier, especially when it comes to rules, to be like, whew, I'm in right standing with God. Yeah. Sweet. Versus it's far more demanding to be in right standing with your neighbor.
Right.
Because it's honestly pretty easy for me to have a great relationship with a forgiving father and unconditionally loving father,
right,
than it is for me to have a great relationship with my neighbor,
who's also perfect, by the way. You know what I mean? Like your neighbor's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so it almost, and I mean, like, changed the game, and people are like, no, that's blasphemous, that's crazy. But that is the, like, hey, if there are guidelines, if there are boundaries, if there are helpful practices, like, it is interesting how Jesus takes all these rules and boils it down to two. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, there's something that no longer is that like a defensive, like, I just need to follow the rules. I need to mimic correctly. I need to do it's like, it turns it all into a relationship.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing, all of that is relational.
Yeah. 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 It's a good way of saying it.
I don't know. That's how I say it.
I like it.
Freedom.
Hey, jumping back to America. What are your what are your international travel experiences? What countries have you been to?
I've been to a few.
What do you got?
Yeah, South Africa. Lesotho. It's a landlocked in South Africa.
Okay.
Mexico.
Real Mexico or vacation Mexico?
Vacation Mexico.
Okay.
Canada. Not vacation Canada.
Which, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's all.
No one goes to vacation Canada.
I don't know. Europe. I've been in a bunch of places in Europe.
Nice. All in one European trip, or?
Yes, one European trip. trip that, we saw like, I don't know, 5 to 8 countries. I'm trying to remember all of them. Man, that was in college.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going with this. I'm nervous.
I don't know. All right. So America, if you had to go live in any other country, would you?
Oh,
I know, like, this is like testing you on 4th of July. Every place you've been where you're like, I could see myself living here.
I would say yes, of like, yeah, that would be awesome. And then I also remember I was in Europe for a month. And like, I remember the saving grace for me was we ate at a Hard Rock Cafe.
Was it like Europeans tried to make it?
The burger was like the size of an actual burger.
Yeah.
And we got refills on our soda.
Yeah.
And water was like real water, not water with gas, not like...
Yeah.
I could
water?
not drink another carbonated water. I was like, I can't do it. And it had ice in the cup. And I was like, Murica. Like, there is something so... I'd love to say that I'm cultured and I could, and could I... Yes. Is there something beautiful about what you know and you know what you to expect and you get what you expect? There is something so beautiful about that. I'm curious. Do you have one?
I would never live in another country.
I'd be interested. You know what I'd be interested in? What I'd be interested? I would be interested in being that old person that goes on that year-long cruise.
Yeah.
I think I could do that. You heard about that?
I could totally do that.
Yeah.
I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all you can eat moving buffet. You got a good
gym. I hope there's a good gym.
I hope so. I would be in terrible shape.
Yeah, I can eat.
I just the other day, we're going off. That's okay.
My bad.
We'll get back to freedom. I got Mel sent me a Costco. And anytime Mel sends me to a spot where we forgot something, I obviously pick up a couple extra things.
Same. I was like, like Chris is like, what bonus items did we get?
I never have the authority to do this.
I'm like, oh, these interesting, like, spicy pickles look good.
Always sweets for me. Always.
Really?
So I picked up the Costco. It's like that Costco. I don't even know what it's called.
Box.
It was like a cake.
Oh.
Yeah. It was incredible. And unfortunately...
You brought home a cake?
Unfortunately, Mel is gluten-free, so she can't have it. So it's all mine. So I haven't eaten... And Mel gets really mad when I eat something like straight from the box.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I drank straight from the carton. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But when it's only mine...
You're the only one.
Or the kids. Shit, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
The kids don't care. She didn't care about that. I'm like... Dude, it's been amazing.
So when you're buying this, you're like
a dent in that cake all week. It's been awesome. Just like, and when you don't put it on a plate, you don't actually know how much you're eating.
It's true.
It's amazing.
Yeah. What's the earliest you've had cake in a day and the latest?
On Saturday, I actually showed up to the services at Nixa, and that day I had like 6 Oreos, a string cheese, and I had some of that cake. And I hadn't eaten like real food.
And then did you eat hot dogs?
No, I did not.
4 or 5 dogs?
No, I did not. But I did have the mac and cheese. Saturday night food. Shout out to Saturday night food. I will say this.
Saturday night Nixa.
Saturday night Nixa. The food game is strong. Every time I've been like, no, I don't really want anything. And then I see the food, I'm like, okay, I'll eat it. And it's been great.
Hey, if you're a North Pointer and you haven't checked out Saturday nights yet, we do Saturday nights, 5 p.m. in Nixa.
That is like
it's a vibe.
I feel like we should provide stickers for each campus and, you came to this one, you got this one, put it on the passport book. Yeah. Right. And you can, Saturday night Nixa should be its own.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
I agree.
I've been to Ecuador a few times, Mexico a few times, real and vacation.
Okay.
Dominican, real and vacation. Mostly vacation, then we made it real, then went back. Went to Ireland for a couple weeks. Whoa. That was cool. Canada several times. Every time I come home, I'm like, nice to see another place, but every time I've been back, I'm like, God bless America.
Nothing like being home.
Well documented. Like pickup trucks, country music.
I wasn't going to go there. But,
America.
But I will say there's just something about, you speak the language, everything's easy. It's easy. I think there's something about your brain that just like, your brain is always seeking what's easy. And there is something where it's like, I understand everything. I get it. I feel home. Yeah. It's just, it just doesn't get any better than that. So.
We also got freedom. Who'd you vote for? Just kidding.
I said, I don't even know what.
Riff, leave comments on who you voted for.
Riff, here's the deal. We've never cut one of these episodes. So we've always the only time we have redone an episode is when we forgot to record. Yeah. Which I see we're going.
No, we're rocking and rolling.
Okay. And so I think,
the freedom in Christ thing, what advice would you give somebody? Be like, hey, so where should I draw the lines?
Yeah. Well, I do think going back to those 2 verses, that is the most helpful thing for me whenever I've done that. I also think there's a lot of gray area. So I mean, I'm not saying, hey, go out, what's the verse? Everything is permissible and not everything is beneficial.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
good wisdom.
Hanging on the line of like, there is data in some of these things as you do this, right? If you are like, hey, I don't think alcohol is bad, whatever, and you drink, and the next morning you're grouchy to your kids and you're grouchy to your wife, and I'm like, stop, then cut that out. Like, like, don't keep doing that. Like, I don't, a lot of times we just ignore data because we're like, that's fine to do. If you play video games all night and you stay up and that's like, you see it taking a toll on your marriage, I'm like, I'm no expert, I'm no counselor, but I could see that being an idol in your life. Like,
and it's like people want to point in the Bible. Well, the Bible doesn't say anything about video games. You know what I mean? It's like when you're looking for chapter and verse on things in your life, they're like, wait a minute, like look at the fruit of it. Look at the, like I would say things like buying an entire sheet cake at Costco and eating it by yourself. Like there's,
sorry.
Too soon?
And you know what? I was thinking about that. There are like things that we're addicted to that are just more socially acceptable. We'd say our phone and our screen time, well, it's just more socially acceptable.
Health in general. I mean, I just pounded a Chick-fil-A meal, which, I also watched a documentary on how they make Chick-fil-A chicken, like from the farm all the way to thing. And I ate it anyway. I'm like, I'm good. I'm cool with how that chicken went down.
And so here's the deal. I could be all legalistic, right? It has to look, it has to look like this. And why would you do this? Your body's a temple. And and there are helpful principles, of course. And at the same time, it is saying like, hey, what's the data? What's the data behind that?
Yeah.
I think everything is great data. So I think the miss is when you do something because it's acceptable and okay, and then you don't ever go back to review the data on it. That hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
You end up in a spot that you never imagined you'd be because you never took time to reflect. And a lot of times we're great at just going and going and going. And honestly, we're not that great at reflecting.
Yeah. It's true. And actually thinking about what are you doing? What's the patterns you're allowing in, et cetera. I also think too, like, is it helpful? Like there's a lot of things in moderation, like, but when it comes to things in life, is it helpful at that point? Like how much are you playing video games? Like how much are you consuming? Like even just health, like, your body matters. Like I started paying attention more after I had kids and I'm like, man, I want to keep up with these little guys, There's a lot of things like the Lord will talk to you about stuff that, your money, how you manage your money, how you spending, how you using debt, all those things. I think that there's principles that are biblical, but I think that if you have a relationship with God and actually pray about it, he'll start to lead your heart. And then you follow those convictions and like, God doesn't, he whispers. He's a good whisperer. He's not a good screamer. He's not yelling at you. He's only whispering. Yeah. And so,
man, and very rarely, I hate to say this because I'm in the profession, very rarely has my life been changed by something that a pastor said on stage.
Same.
Very rarely has my life been changed. Even as I listen to a podcast and I consume, and I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I should probably do that. And then I don't. Oftentimes, those aren't the things that change my life. It is what you're saying of like, I don't think you need another person to change your life. I think you need Jesus to change your life. There's a difference in that. And that is the reflection. That is the taking the time in your day to pray the prayers, search my heart, oh God, right? That is the time to say, let me be still.
Yeah.
You're God. Those are the times where you come back, you reflect. That's your reflection. We would call pieces of that spiritual formation in your life as he begins to be at the center of your life and things flow through from that. As you begin to love him with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, right? You utilize every single aspect. Let me utilize my mind. Let me utilize my strength. Let me utilize my soul. Let me utilize every aspect, right? It begins to reshape you. There's this, right? Imago Dei, being shaped in the image of God. And there's some of us, maybe we don't have Imago Dei, we have Imago Meta, and we're being shaped by the things we're watching, right? Yeah. We got the, Imago calendar, right? It's like there's a million different things that are shaping us right now, and it's saying, can I take some time? Can I reflect? Can I spend some time with Jesus? And by the way, that usually sets your pass rate. Like there's something from that you encounter a next step from. And so I feel like every time we hop on this podcast, we like urge you to spend time with Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like legitimately, it is the thing that will change your life. There is nothing else. There is no magic pill. There is no thing that a pastor's going to say. There is no podcast that will change your life.
Yeah.
The best podcasts are just pointing to a better God that's saying, God can do this in your life. And I know, will how and all this, but it literally spend time with him, and things become solved. If Jesus has an agenda for your life, that will come true through those moments.
Yep, he'll make it clear. Yeah, he always does.
Riff Raff, I hope you got all 10 fingers after the fourth. We love you. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.